Well, welcome once again to this life lessons from the Bible, and I'm so happy that you have taken some time to join with me as we delve into the scriptures. I hope it all is well with you and your family, even in the midst of all the challenges we have going on globally today. I'm praying God's blessings and God's peace on you. And today, as we continue in our studies or look into the scriptures, we continue in the looking at the prophetic scriptures, and specifically we'll be looking at Revelation chapter 18, which talks about the judgment of a woman which the Bible calls the Great Whore, or Babylon the Great. We have also looked at Revelation chapter 17, and we did an explanation of that. And that's really a foundation for going into chapter 18. So I would like to invite you, if you haven't seen that video, you could always check our archives and you will get the details there. But I'll be doing a very brief review or summary of Revelation 17, so that when we look into chapter 18, it will be not difficult to understand. Revelation 17 speaks about a woman who the Bible calls, it calls her the great whore in verse 1. And then in verse 5, it says there's a name on her forehead called Mystery Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots and abominations of the earth. And so John, he saw this woman in Revelation chapter 17. This is what the angel said, verse 1. And there came to me one of the 7 angels which had the 7 vials, and talked with me, saying, Come hither, I will show you the judgment of the great whore which sitteth upon many waters. And then verse 3 says, So he carried me away in the spirit in the wilderness, and I saw a woman sit on a scarlet-colored beast, full of names of blasphemy, having 7 heads and 10 horns. And so when we did this video, we explained that this woman represents what the Bible calls the system, the Babylon system. Is a system that is actually calls it Babylon the Great. And Babylon is simply a name that talks about the ungodly system in this world, the wicked, ungodly system, the worldly system that exists in this world. And that system really began in the book of Genesis, and it's present even all up today. It is an ungodly, wicked system which has functioned throughout the entire history of the world, and it is still present today, and it will be judged. Revelation 17 shows the judgment, or this part of the judgment on this system. So in chapter 17, the angel gave John a lot of vision, and he saw things, and John described what he saw. And if you look back at the video we did on this, and we explained everything, essentially the woman was called Babylon the Great, but this system, Babylon system, it functioned in all of history, all of the kingdoms, all of the empires in history, it functioned in them. But mainly it functioned in 7 empires, and the Bible highlighted that in Revelation 17. And the 7 empires were the Egyptian Empire, the Assyrian Empire, the Babylonian Empire, the Medo-Persian Empire, the Grecian Empire, and then the Roman Empire. When Rome fell, well, we know from that, things eventually moved from back then until where we are today. But Revelation shows us that Rome will there'll be like a revival. The nations in that Roman system will once again come up to dominance. And it is coming up to dominance today. We call it the European Union today. The spirits that are in the Babylon system are very strong spirits, and they lure people away from God into idolatry. And these are the spirits that we have functioning in this, what we call the European Union, but more so in the Roman Catholic Church. When we explain Revelation 17, one of the conclusions we came to, one of the big conclusions, is that today this woman called Babylon the Great is really functioning in the Roman Catholic Church, and God is going to judge this church because of these the wickedness and the sins that Babylon expresses and does through that church. And it's not only through the church, but it's through the European system as a whole. The ungodliness, the idolatries, the rebellion against God that is rooted in this um, European Union, God is going to judge. Because remember, the European Union didn't just start off just like that. The roots of the European Union really came from the Roman Empire. That's the same area, geographical area where the Roman Empire was. So the spirits that function in the Roman Empire, the wickedness, the idolatry, and all of the rebellions against God, that is the roots from where this present European Union comes. And so the spirits and everything continue to function. It's very strong spirits, and God is going to judge it. And Revelation 17 shows that God is going to judge specifically the religious, the wicked, evil religious expressions in the Babylon system. And that today is the Roman Catholic Church. God is not only going to judge the religious component of Babylon, which is really expressed through the Roman Catholic Church, but he's also going to judge the financial component of Babylon. Because the Babylon system, which again is the worldly system that we have, the ungodly system that is functioning today, it is a system that has prospered financially, but it has prospered financially because of its wickedness and the working of demonic spirits. And God is going to judge that financial component. And that is what Revelation 18 is about. Revelation 17 is about God judging the religious component, which is really expressed through the Roman Catholic Church. And then in Revelation 18, God is going to judge the financial component of this Babylon, wicked Babylon system. And that financial component is in the Catholic Church as well, but it is also in the rest of the European Union. But mainly, in a big way, this financial component is in the Catholic Church, because in the Catholic Church, there are so many things from centuries ago that allowed the Catholic Church to prosper. You know, the things that got from different countries, different kings centuries ago, the things that it has, the Catholic Church has its own bank, and the amount of money is a lot. It doesn't say, it doesn't, give the information. So there's no record of exactly how much, but it has a lot. And so God is going to judge the religious as well as the financial component of this Babylon system. And that is what chapter 18 is about, is the judgment of the financial system. And just one more thing I want to say before we actually go into this. What Revelation 17 and 18 really are about, it is really God judging this wicked world system. So in Revelation chapter 6, all the way to Revelation chapter 16, what we see in those chapters is God judging men and the wickedness of men. You see all kinds of different things. Essentially, all those judgments, they had to do with the wickedness of men and their rebellion against God. But when you come to chapter 17 and 18, God is now judging in a broader or a higher level. He's judging the system in this world, the wicked system. In the New Testament, it is called the world or the worldly system. The broader name for that comes from the Old Testament, and it is the Babylon system, or Revelation 17 calls it Babylon the Great. So in the earlier parts of the book of Revelation, God is judging the sins of men and women. But now in Revelation 17 and 18, he's not just judging men and women, he's judging the ungodly system that's basically the foundation of the sins of men. And then when you go to read chapter 19, Jesus is going to return as the Messiah of the Jews, and he's going to judge the beast, the person we call the Antichrist. And the judgment of the beast is necessary because the beast really will focus on persecuting the Jews. So look at how Revelation is organized. You have the judgment of people because of their sins and their wickedness and all kinds of sins and wickedness, their idolatry, their blasphemies, their sexual sins, their immorality. God is going to judge all of that people commit. And we see those things, those judgments from chapter 6 all the way to chapter 16. But then God is not just going to judge the people, he's going to judge the wicked system itself. that has been driving people, all the demonic spirits and the wickedness that has been driving the people to commit these sins, that system is called the Babylon system or Babylon the Great. And it has been functioning from Genesis all the way until the present today. And so God is going to judge this system. And that judgment is in chapter 17 and chapter 18. But then there's another judgment. The beast is really going to go against Israel. So when you read chapter 19, you see Jesus, the Messiah of Israel, returning, and he's going to judge the beast. But then after all of that, when you go to chapter 20, you see an even broader judgment, and that is the judgment of all mankind from ever since God created Adam until now, or until the last person that will be alive. And that is called the great white throne judgment. That's the judgment of all sinners. So there are different judgments in the Bible. Also, we didn't mention this, but if you go to Revelation chapter 11, you will see the judgment of believers. We as believers will be judged and we will receive rewards. So there are different judgments taking place in the book of Revelation. Let me just say them one more time so that it can make it kind of clear. There's judgments against people for their sins, the wickedness of man on the earth. God is going to judge man on the earth for his wickedness and all that he has done against the creation and so on. There's judgment on the earth. That's chapter 6 to chapter 16 of the book of Revelation. Inside of that, Revelation chapter 11, there's a record where God is going to judge his people and he's going to give them rewards. So that's the judgment of the saints. But then in Revelation chapter 17 and 18, which is what we are looking at here, God is going to judge the worldly system, the ungodly system that is really driving men to sin. And that system, the Bible calls it Babylon the Great, which started all the way in Genesis. And God is going to judge that. And today we're going to read chapter 18 and see some of that. Or we're going to just summarize it. We won't go into too much detail. But then there's another judgment. The beast, when he comes, the Antichrist, his main focus will really be against Israel, to go against the people of the chosen people of God. And Jesus, the Messiah, is going to return to personally fight against the beast because he is the defender of Israel. He's their Messiah. So he will personally come to judge the beast. And the beast will be cast alive into the lake of fire, the beast and the false prophet. But that's not the only thing. When you read chapter 20, Revelation chapter 20, there's a judgment of all mankind from the beginning until the end at the great white throne judgment. And that will be the final judgment. The Bible talks about the second death, where people will be cast into the lake of fire. And so there are a series of judgments that the Bible speaks about. And this is one of them that we are looking at today, Revelation chapter 17, which we spoke about before. And today, Revelation chapter 18. Revelation chapter 18 is going to look at the judgment of the Babylon system, but more specifically, the judgment on its economics, its finances. Because remember, the Babylon system is a wicked system, but it has prospered. All through history, the ungodly people of the world, you see them prospering. The ungodly systems. Today in this world, we have a financial system in this world, the economics of this world, which has really benefited only a few people. And so we see billionaires and multi-billionaires. And in a little while, we might see some trillionaires as well. Because the economic system of this world, it is wicked. It is evil. It does not allow the lower people to prosper. It is only skewed towards a certain amount of people. And not only that, the wealth is not, the system does not get wealth through godly means, but it is ungodly means. So you see people today prospering because of wickedness, and it's not ungodly ways. The system that brings about that wealth and that prosperity and so on is a wicked system. The Bible calls it Babylon the Great. And God is going to judge this wicked financial system. Today, that system is expressing itself through the Roman Catholic Church, as expressing itself through the European Union as a whole, because that is where the European Union came out from the Roman Empire. And in Revelation 18 is where we're going to see the judgment on the finances. So let's begin. Revelation 18, verse 1. And after these things, I saw another angel come down from heaven, having great power, and the earth was lightened with his glory. And he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the Great is fallen, and has become the habitation of devils and the hole of every foul spirit and a cage of every unclean and hateful birds. This is hateful birds and unclean spirits. It's talking about demons. So he is saying this Babylon system has become a demonic system. It is infested with demons. And today, again, this Babylon system is really expressed through what we have as the European Union and the Roman Catholic Church. Verse 3 For all nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication, and the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her, and the merchants of the earth are waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacies. There are three groups of people mentioned here who have allowed themselves to be controlled by the system and who are going to be judged. The first, it says, verse 3, is the nations of the earth. The people in the earth have allowed themselves to basically give in to this Babylon system, which is the idolatry, which is all of the loose, reckless living, which is the rebellion against God. The nations of the earth has done that. Secondly, it says the kings of the earth has committed fornication with her. So the leaders of the world, in history and even until the present, the leaders of the world, instead of standing up for righteousness, they have given themselves over to ungodliness and to all kinds of loose living and idolatry, which is the main thing, is idolatry. Choosing not to acknowledge God, but instead going into idolatrous practices. And then the third group is the merchants, because they became rich. So there are three groups of people the Bible highlights: the people as a whole, generally the nations, the leaders of those nations, and then the merchants in those nations, the business people. And then hear what he says in verse 4. And I heard another voice from heaven saying, Come out of her, my people, and be not partakers of her sins, that ye receive not of her plagues. What this is a warning to the church. This is God speaking to the church today and telling the church, do not be worldly, but come out from this worldly, ungodly system, which is called the Babylon the Great. God is telling the church, don't be worldly. You know, the Bible in 1 John talks about all that is in the world is the lust of the flesh, the lust of the eyes, and the pride of life. That's what he is saying here. Do not fall. Don't get into the lust of the flesh, the lust of the eyes, of the pride of life, but get out of that, because you will be judged. That's what he is saying. He's saying, come out of her, because she will be judged. Hear what he says. Be not partakers of her sins, that you receive not of her plagues. In other words, God is saying, if you as a believer and I as a believer, if we are worldly, which means we are practicing what this Babylon system is about, we are basically doing what the system says, and we will be judged when the system is judged. That's what he is saying. So this is the warning to us: do not be worldly. If you know as a believer you are not living right, if you are compromising your Christianity, if you are giving in to temptation, and if you are trying to make excuses for your lifestyle, the Bible, God is here saying, stop it. Come out from that. Because if you don't, when he judges the system, you will be judged. You will have to answer to God for your double standard lifestyle. So this is very serious. And then it goes on to say, verse 5, For her sins have reached to heaven, and God has remembered her iniquities. Verse 6, Reward her even as she rewarded you, and double her according to her works. In the cup which she had filled, fill to her double. In other words, he's saying, don't just judge her, but judge her twofold. In other words, what he's saying is, this is complete judgment on the system, and it's complete judgment on the people who practice this ungodly lifestyle. and who practice this ungodly system. And the main thing about this Babylon system is idolatry. It is rejecting God. When you reject God, you will go into some form of worship, and that is idolatry. So hear what she says in verse 7. How much she has glorified herself and lived deliciously, so much torment and sorrow give her. For she says in her heart, I sit a queen, and I am no widow, and shall see no sorrow. This is an amazing statement that she makes there. It's actually a quotation from Isaiah chapter 47 and verse 8, which is another chapter that speaks about Babylon. Interestingly, if you read the Old Testament in Isaiah and in Jeremiah, God talks about the judgment of the Babylon system in those chapters. So when you read in those books, so when you read those prophets, Isaiah and Jeremiah, you see what God was saying about the Babylon system since then. And he is saying the same thing now. This system says, I am a queen and I am not a widow and I will see no sorrow. This is a boastful system. This is talking about people who have allowed demonic spirits to control them, and they stand up in rebellion towards God and they say to God, I live my life and I am successful, and no God is going to judge me. I will not see any sorrow. This is a boastful, wicked lifestyle, and there are people who live like that, and God is going to judge them. He's going to judge his system, the demonic spirits, and the people who practice this kind of boastful lifestyle. She says, I sit as a queen, I am no widow, and I shall see no sorrow. Remember, God judged Israel, whom he said he married, and then he put her away because of her sins. So this woman, this Babylon system is saying, God judged Israel, he put her away, and she became, lowly and cast out and exiled into the nations. But I am not like that. I am wealthy. I am successful. This is a boastful system. This is Satan boasting through this system. And that's why the system is going to be judged. And that's why God is going to judge the people who practice this system. And this is interesting. So here, look at the judgment that is going to happen here now. Verse 8, therefore shall her plagues come in one day, death and mourning and famine, and she shall be utterly burned with fire, for strong is the Lord who judges her. Burned with fire. He is saying, because this system is wicked, I'm going to judge it, and the judgment is going to be with fire. She will burn. And remember when we read Revelation 17, we said that the woman is going to be burned with fire. The 10 kings or the 10 leaders, which I believe are Islamic leaders, who join together with the beast or the Antichrist, these 10 leaders are going to fight the woman and burn her with fire. And the woman we said today is basically the Roman Catholic Church. The woman, the expression of all the idolatry and the wickedness is really today the Catholic Church. And here again it is saying, in verse 8, her plagues will come in one day. She will have death, mourning, and famine, and she will be utterly burned with fire. So it seems that the Roman Catholic Church, the Bible is saying it will be destroyed by fire. And probably in Rome, where in St. Peter's Basilica, it seems that will be destroyed with fire. It will be burned with fire because of the wickedness, because that is the expression, the ultimate expression of this Babylon system. And listen to this. Verse 9, and the kings of the earth who have committed fornication and lived deliciously with her shall bewail her and lament for her when they shall see the smoke of her burning. Verse 10, standing afar off for the fear of the torment, saying, alas, alas, that great city Babylon, that mighty city, for in 1 hour is thy judgment come. So what this is saying is that the leaders of the world, all these political leaders, prime ministers, presidents, the ministers of government, who traded, who who were, interacting with this city, which is, this is talking about the Roman Catholic Church and the city where it is, which is in Italy, Rome, Italy, is going to be judged. And the leaders of the world who have done business with this city, they will lament. Remember, the Roman Catholic Church and Rome itself, where Roman Catholic Church is located, is like a whole nation by itself. The nations of the world, the leaders of the world, prime ministers and presidents, they have official diplomatic relations with the Pope, the Holy See, and they have their ambassadors, they have their representatives in Rome. When the Pope visits a nation, it is a very high diplomatic visit. He is granted high diplomatic status. And so the kings of the earth, which means the political leaders, the prime ministers, the presidents, and so on, they reverence, they respect this leader. But he will be judged. The church and the system will be judged. And when it is judged, the Bible says here that they will stand afar off. It seems as if it will be a nuclear war. What apparently, when you read Revelation 17 and 18, what seems to be taking place is Islamic leaders, these 10 Islamic leaders who join together and give their authority and power to the beast. They will come together and they will fight against the Roman Catholic Church, and it seems that it will be a nuclear war, apparently, because the Bible says that these leaders of the world will stand a great distance away because they fear her torment. That seems to sound like some nuclear spillover, So this is going to be a serious war that will take place here. And it goes on and it says, so the kings, they mourn. Remember, this is one of the groups of the people that interacted with her and benefited from her. And then verse 11, and the merchants of the earth shall weep and mourn for her, for no man buyeth her merchandise anymore. So not only the leaders, but the merchants, in other words, the business people. Remember, Rome for many, many years has been the center of commerce. When the Roman Empire was there, of course, there was commerce going on. Rome was the center of it. But then after the Roman Empire fell, the Roman Catholic Church rose to dominance, rose to power, and there it continued from there. Rome. The power shifted sometimes in different places, but Rome was still the center. And today the Roman Catholic Church is still functioning from there. And business is still being done from there. But like I said, the Roman Catholic Church has its own bank, and it does trade and industry on a global level. People buy and sell. So Rome is still known for its commerce because of in a big way, because of the Roman Catholic Church. Other places in the European Union are also known for their commerce, Germany and other places. But Rome has always been a financial center from the time of the Roman Empire even up to now because of the Roman Catholic Church. So the merchants will mourn. And when you read verse 12, verse 13, verse 14, it lists the different things that they buy. And there's a whole set of things, clothing and wood and ivory and precious minerals and so on, and even cinnamon. It lists a whole set of things. So it's real things that they have purchased over all these years that they will not be able to purchase anymore. And that is why they will wail and they will lament. And listen to this, verse 15. The merchants of these things which were made rich by her shall stand afar off for the fear of her torment, weeping and wailing. Again it mentions, this is another group who is standing afar off. So this is going to be a major destruction. This is not just missiles. This seems to be nuclear, and people will be standing afar off. The kings, the leaders, and the merchants. And not only that, but it also says now, in verse 17, it says, for in 1 hour so great riches is come to naught, and every shipmaster and all the company in ships and sailors and as many as trade by sea stood afar off and cried when they saw the smoke of a burning, saying, what city is like unto this great city? So they are the kings who mourn, There are the merchants who mourn, and now the people who trade by ships. It's not only people who buy and sell on the land, but even people who buy and sell by ships. They also suffer because the economy, finances will suffer. So it says people who sell by ships, they will mourn as well. Listen to what it says, verse 19. And they cast dust on their heads and cried, weeping and wailing, saying, Alas, alas, that great city wherein were made rich all that had ships in the sea, by reason of her costliness. For in 1 hour is she made desolate. This Babylon system made many people wealthy. People who trade on the land, people who trade on the sea, and also the kings of the earth, the leaders of the earth. Everybody make themselves wealthy through this system. It is an ungodly system. And today it is functioning through the Roman Catholic Church. Not only today, but for many centuries until and today. And it is also through this European Union. But Rome seems to be the center, and Rome is where this judgment seems to be taking place. And it says, in 1 hour she is made desolate. So this is going to be a swift judgment. Remember that it seems to be nuclear. One nuclear warhead strike in that place, and that is a catastrophe. It is instantaneous destruction in 1 hour. But even though people on the earth are wailing and crying, verse 20, rejoice over her, thou heaven, and you holy apostles and prophets, for God has avenged you on her. Avenged you on her, because this system has killed the holy apostles and prophets. If you know the history of the Roman Catholic Church, it has killed and persecuted many believers, apostles, prophets, believers, many, millions. Read the book A Woman Rides the Beast by Dave Hunt. When we did the video on Revelation 17, I spoke about that. Check it up, A Woman Rides the Beast by Dave Hunt. You could get it online. And read that book, and he gives a real detailed history on how the church, the Roman Catholic Church, has killed believers. And this is what this is saying here. For God has avenged you, meaning the apostles and prophets. God has avenged you because she killed you, and now God is going to avenge you. And it says that there's a destruction. It says, verse 21, a mighty angel took up a stone like a great millstone and cast it into the sea, saying, thus with violence shall the great city Babylon be thrown down, and shall be found no more at all. This system and the people who practice and revel in this system will be judged, but it will be no more. God is going to judge the evil that is in this world, the wicked system that is in this world. And I hope we understand that he's not just only going to judge the people who practice these sins, he's going to judge the system, so that when the people are judged, there'll be no system that can help them to rise up again and get back into rebellion. God is going to judge everything, the people and the system. Verse 24, the last verse in chapter 18. And in her was found the blood of prophets and saints and all that was slain upon the earth. That's very interesting. Prophets, saints, and all that was slain on the earth. That means this system is the Babylon system that started in Genesis. And every person who was killed, the first record was Cain who killed his brother Abel. The first murder, the first slaughter until now, it happened because of this Babylon system. The spirits behind that system is what drove people. It drove Cain to kill his brother and everybody else. And every murder that took place on the earth, and every murder that ever will take place, is because of this system, because of the demonic spirits behind the system. And not only every murder, but specifically the murder of prophets and saints. That means Old Testament saints, the people in the Israel in the Old Testament time, even before Israel was called, Abraham and all in his time who were righteous and holy, but were killed. All of them, this system, and even today as well, it is this system. And so God is going to judge the system, which again today is really manifesting itself in a big way through the Roman Catholic Church, and it will express itself in a bigger way in the years to come. We did a video in Revelation 13 and we explained that the false prophet seems to be a pope that will come, either whether this pope who is here presently or another pope to come. The false prophet seems to be a pope, and he will work together with the Antichrist, who seems to be an Islamic leader. So you have the pope, which is supposed to be a church, the Church of Jesus, working together with an Islamic leader. Christianity, it's supposed to be Christianity, working together with Islam, and they will go in rebellion against God. And that is why God is going to judge this system, because this Babylon system will finally express itself in total rebellion against God. And so this is what we have here, Revelation 17 and 18, the judgment of Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots, the Bible says. And we see today expressing itself through the Roman Catholic Church, but also through the European Union, because the European Union in its final form will also work towards outright rebellion against God. And as we do some more studies, we will see the scriptures that talk about that. But this is it, Revelation 17 and 18. If you have any questions, comments, or any points, and you would like to ask those questions or make those comments, I really would like to invite you, share your comments in the comments section, give your feedback. And if you agree, disagree, it'll be great to hear your comments so we can have some dialogues. But I'm hoping that this has been clear and that you understand that God is going to judge the system. And what we're seeing today in the Middle East and so on is part of it. It's not the full thing. It's just part of it. We'll also be doing some more videos into what's going on in the Middle East now, with Israel and so on, because there's a war that's going to come from all of this, where Russia will be the head of nations coming to fight Israel directly. The book of Ezekiel speaks about that. And so we'll talk about that a little more. And so until the next time, I'm praying God's blessings on you. Thank you for joining me. And take care until